All right, it's 6 o'clock on the dot. Thank everybody for being here tonight. We got somewhat of a list to go through here. Call this meeting to order. Oh, adoption agenda, I'm sorry. I got the lump up. Adoption of agenda.
Why?
Move that we adopted the agenda as written.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, the invocation, please.
If you would please pray with me. Our Father, we bring all of our constituents of the town here tonight. Hope that we make the right decisions, that you would guide us to understand the right things to do. Please give us a special healing with Jeff's daughter this evening and keep her in our prayers. Be with us and help us do the right thing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. Approval of the minutes from the July 8th board meeting.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, anybody here for public comment? We have anybody? And you were here last night.
Yeah, I was.
I was wondering about that.
I thought the meeting was last night. But I did get to see the new
Yeah.
chief police sworn in.
I apologize, I didn't realize.
No, everybody left, I was sitting here by myself. They said, "May I help
We didn't
you?"
realize it, that's why we sent the chief back in, because we were like, we gotta find out, then we figured out you were here for this
So I'm
meeting.
first on the list because I signed up yesterday. My name's Donna Scott, I live at 1004 Lake Shore Drive. I appreciate your serving and listening to what the public has to say. I know you don't do it for the money. For 20 years, Nancy Sigmund, 20 years plus, Nancy Sigmund had a newsletter for the town of Lake Waccamaw. Darren Curry had one for about 10 years. And I would like to encourage you to reinstitute a town newsletter. The Gator Fest could be advertised, the swim camp, the upcoming Labor Day yard sale could be advertised. It could feature the new town employees, like the ladies from last night. And we could get some, specific details. Maybe I could learn when the meetings really are. When trash and recycling and limb pickup is. I've heard that Ron could use some more volunteers for the fire department, but I wouldn't know how to do that. I wouldn't know who to call, when to call, what he needs, what help he needs, and how to apply. We should be reporting to you every month our water quality results, and I'm sorry that we have not been doing that. There are about 15 volunteers who have been doing water quality monitoring for years, and like I said, I'm sorry we have not been coming to you monthly, but we need to. We monitor several parameters, and the lab at Coastal Carolina University is used to run the tests that have to be done by a nationally certified lab. The state park has a newsletter, the Depot Museum has a newsletter, the library has a newsletter, the sailing club has a newsletter, the churches have newsletters, and and you're the most important organization in town. And it would mean a lot to the rest of us if you had a newsletter. I think it would cut down on the phone calls that you get, it would cut down on confusion about different issues that affect citizens. And I think if it were done online, it wouldn't be all that much work for any one person. I feel like Ginger would help. I mean, she's a great writer. Anyway, I would like to encourage you to consider reinstituting a town newsletter.
Thank you so much. Anybody else public comment? I know somebody else has got something in their mind, all these people. Glad you're all here. Yeah, we are. All right. Nothing further, we're gonna move on. I'll show you where we spent some of this town money at. Capital project ordinance, sewer 6 improvements. I'm going to read this for you. Capital project ordinance phase 6 sewer improvements projects. Be it obtained by the governing board of the town of Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina, that pursuant to section 13.2 of chapter 159 of the general statutes of North Carolina, the following capital ordinance is hereby adopted. The project authorized is for the phase 6 sewer improvements to be financed by a state reserve program, American Rescue Plan grant. The officers of the unit are hereby directed to proceed with the capital project within the terms of the bond solution, funding documents, and the budget contained herein. The following amounts are appropriated for the project. It's a total of $9,198,450. Bond revenues are anticipated to be available to complete the project. Finance officers hereby directed to maintain within the capital project fund sufficient specific detailed accounting records to satisfy the requirements of the funding agency, the funding agreements, and federal regulations. Funds may be advanced from the general fund for the purpose of making payments as due. Reimbursement requests should be made to the funding agency in an orderly and timely manner. The finance officer is directed to report on a quarterly basis on the financial status of each project element in section 3 and the total revenues received or claimed. The budget officer is directed to include a detailed analysis of past and future costs and revenues on this capital project in every budget submission made to this board. Copies of the capital project ordinance shall be furnished to the clerk, the governing board, and to the budget officer and the finance officer for direction in carrying out this project. Adopted this day, this 12th day, August 2025. I'm the son of Meredith. Get a motion.
Make a motion that we accept it.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? On to item number 8, capital project ordinance for meter replacements. Capital project ordinance, water meter replacement project, be it obtained by the governing board of the town of Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina, that pursuant to section 13.2, chapter 159 of the general statutes of North Carolina, the following capital project ordinance is hereby adopted. The project authorizes that the water meter replacement project be financed by in the town of Lake Waccamaw. The officers of this unit are hereby directed to proceed with the capital project within the terms of the bond resolution, grant documents, and budgeted contained herein. The following amounts are appropriated for the project. Total of $748,524. The finance officer is hereby directed to maintain within the capital project sufficient specific detailed accounting records to satisfy the requirements of the grantor agency, the grant agreements, and the federal regulations. Funds may be advanced from the general fund for the purpose of making payments as due. Reimbursement requests should be made to the grantor agency in an orderly and timely manner. Finance officer is directed to report on a quarterly basis. The budget officer is directed to include a detailed analysis of past and future costs and revenues of this capital project. Copies of this capital project ordinance shall be furnished to the clerk, governing board, and budget officer, and finance officer. This adopted this 12th day, August 2025.
Mayor, I just want to clarify one thing when you read it. The project is financed and funded by state appropriation in the town of Lake Waccamaw. So that's why when it says sessions law, it goes through the list of stuff there, but that's a state appropriation.
Right. Need a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Hey, tell the folks how many meters we're talking about here, because it's a big deal.
You're talking about about 1,000 meters, basically, and I'll give a summary real quick. They have a lifespan, and so what we have is a system that they drive by and they read them, and a lot of people in here will probably say, well, I always see them going up and reading mine manually. Well, that's because the life expectancy of a meter is between 10 to 15 years, depending on who makes it and how long the battery lasts. But once the battery dies, the meter still functions. The meter still works. It's analog. There's no digital system left because the electrical current's gone. So they have to read it manually. So it still functions, you can still get the read, but that means that everybody's having to go out and read them manually, and it takes days and days and days. So we're replacing all of the meters because they've aged out over time. So the ones that you see that they're reading manually, they're reading those manually because that power source that supported sending that signal is no longer happening. So once we realized that was happening, we got a state appropriation to finance, that's part of our state appropriation, to finance this, to replace those meters. So it'll make not only it easier for our people, it'll take up less manpower, less hours, less rereads, and it will make us more efficient in getting you all your bills in a timely manner.
I just wanted to understand how many man hours this thing's taken with that.
Well, I will tell you that I went out with the guys and read with them, and that's when I realized how significant it was, because as they're aging out, and they must have all been put in the ground around relatively the same time, for the exception of when you have new builds that were added in between. So we're losing large amounts of them digitally every month. It's progressive, and so we're over 40% that do not send now. So going out with guys and reading, and basically guys having clipboards full of streets and everything, and having to go out and read them. And then if you have a situation like we're having right now, where we're dealing with a lot of rain, it's not just open up the meter box, look inside, it's probably got a foot of water inside of it. So now you have to pump it out, wipe it off, and hope you can read it through all of that. It's very time consuming, it takes days. This way they should be able to drive down the road. And we went with the reason that we went with the project as we did, they make it another option where it's cellular. The problem though is here in Lake Waccamaw, we have a couple dead zones with cellular. We put a project in place where these can be upgraded to cellular at a later date if we choose to do so. But right now, the most consistent would be to go with the digital read. So they just drive by and they read it because they have an antenna attached to the vehicle. But when the cellular service in this area becomes more consistent and we don't have any dead zones, we could look at in the future upgrading to a cellular where it literally could go without anybody even driving down the road, and they could click here in the building and get the read.
Thanks. Did you want to make any comment on the sewer improvement project?
Sewer 6 is an ongoing project that we've had going on. What you're looking at is the third phase of Sewer 6. That includes everything from manhole rehabilitation to some replacement of some sewer lines in various areas in town. What I will tell you though is that the funding, we bid this project twice. We got one bid, and the bid came in over what we're appropriated, what we have. So now we're having to coordinate with the engineers to try to figure out what's absolutely necessary and what we're gonna have to cut back on. So I can't tell you exactly which parts of the project are going to actually take place and which ones aren't. What I can tell you right now is we're looking at the cutting back on the manhole rehabilitation first to see if that gives us enough wiggle room where we can still go with replacing the reservoirs and the lift stations, and then also the sewer lines. Because one of the key issues that's on that project as well is everyone's aware of down by Dale's where that line runs, and there's a belly in it that kind of low after it leaves there. And when we get a substantial amount of rain, that is the low point, and that's the weakest point as far as the probability for having a breach with the system. So that would be at priority where that stays in, but manhole rehabilitation may have to be cut so we can meet the financials as they're currently proposed. Like I said, it's another one of those where we were talking about before, we bid it twice, we had one bidder. The unfortunate problem is when you only have one bidder in a situation like that, the market doesn't dictate. They dictate because there's only one bidder.
And we had it estimated at 7.8 million. It came in over 9 million.
10-4.
All right, thank you for that. All right. Who's seen the roundabout out here lately? See, they got the grass mowed? It's a funny thing, I called him, and we had texted several times.
Mayor,
Yeah.
point of order, we have to award, number 9, award the bid for meter replacement.
Oh, we ain't done that yet?
No, sir. You did the capital, project ordinance,
Yeah, we
but now we have to award the bid for the meter replacement. So that's the next item.
Oh.
So where we were saying with the other one, that sewer 6, because we only had one bid that came in, that was at 10-6, and we're having to figure out how we're gonna proceed. This one actually came in on budget, so we're awarded.
All right, I'll get back to that. So yeah, we need to award bid for meter
And
replacement.
if you hadn't done that, Sarah would have been absolutely.
Sarah's on vacation, so.
This is
we don't
Sarah's
wanna make
happy
her mad.
moment.
So we need a motion on that?
I make that motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? And who was that contractor?
I don't have it on me right now. I can go in the office and grab it if you want me to
All right.
step out and get it, but, give me 2 seconds and I'll.
You're fine, we're good, we're good. All right, now moving on. The roundabout got mowed. I had reached out to Ken Clark several times, and I reached out to him the day before, and I ride up at lunchtime when the roundabout's getting mowed, or weed eaters out there, and I called Ken, I said, man, I certainly do appreciate it. He said, appreciate what? So the contractor took it upon himself, and just so happens, that was the day they were gonna mow it, it was the day that Ken Clark was gonna try to. Anyhow,
Mr. Mayor, I believe they mowed it because they dug it up today.
Yeah.
They mowed it so they could dig it up.
yeah, there's sod, they're supposed to be putting, Ken said they're supposed to be putting sod down in the roundabout, I think maybe this week.
Hopefully they'll get all their digging out of their system before they do that.
So with the roundabout, there is some speed changes that we asked for, correct? Scott, you're sitting there shaking your head, even though you're retired. And, there's one that we asked for that I don't think we got, but
Not yet.
not yet, but we're still fighting for it. So, the speed limit goes where the old city limit sign used to be up here before you get to the graveyard. 45 mile an hour, which that used to be 55, correct? Right on down. 45 mile an hour. When you get to the gate that goes into the boys' and girls' home, and the gate that goes out to the arena, the speed limit will go to 35 mile an hour as you come up on the roundabout. Once you go around the roundabout, get out here to Mount Zion Street. That's Mount Zion Street. The speed limit will go back to 55. This was a DOT thing. We told them what we would like, and that 55 mile an hour, we would like for it to be 35 mile an hour, or at least 45 mile an hour on past Brinkley Park, on that past Wadish. So we're still fighting for that. Hopefully we may get it. But that is the certification of municipal declaration to enact speed limits and request for concurrence. So you don't need a motion or anything here to be.
You need to vote to do it, but you don't have to read all of this because you just described everybody, so just.
Right.
Need a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, and we're still gonna fight to change that 55 mile an hour.
I make that motion.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
It's not the first time we've had
Yeah, we tried to do that 2 or 3 times.
but we've had to do that down on the canal and everything, so.
They do some good except for the last part.
Well, and when I spoke with, they called to brief me on what their findings, and I brought up Elizabeth Brinkley, and what he said was that we could still resubmit, and that they would take any considerations and look at it again. So we just keep being relentless, and eventually they're gonna see, because we've seen accidents. We've seen people pulling out. There's a lot of traffic coming in and out of the park access. So, it would make a lot of sense. I understand that they're not wanting, what I was told was they're trying not to yo-yo the speed too much so it can be regulated. But I look at it as, well, just extend the 45 then, and then you're not yo-yoing. You're decelerating in a roundabout, you go to 45, and then it carries out until you get past the park, and then you can go 55.
Another big thing is you got the kids leaving East Columbus now, they gonna go over there fast, right straight out to Wanish.
Yes, sir.
All right. Item number 11, discussion of changing September meeting date. These dates are set prior to,
In December.
in December, and, we have a commissioner that has something going on, and can we change that date? What can we change that date to in September? Got any suggestions, Ms. Meredith?
It's entirely up to you. The very next week is September the 16th. That would probably be the most logical. However, I will not be able to attend that meeting. I have a meeting already scheduled for that night. So that is entirely up to you.
How about 7? Is that bad also? So Wednesday night?
You got it Tuesday.
Gotta be a 2. I mean, I feel like we can do it on the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damon can take notes.
I acquiesced to Meredith because she keeps the calendar, so if she says we're good, we're good.
So what do we think, the following Tuesday, the 16th, at 6 o'clock? Everybody okay with that?
Wait, he said to the 16th or 17th?
16th.
So with that, yeah, we're good.
Following Tuesday, 6 o'clock. We need a vote on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Carl?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed?
That would be a good thing for the newsletter.
Yeah, one.
All right, Ms. Meredith, finance reports.
Good evening. You have a copy of finance reports so far for this year. One thing that I would like to highlight, in July, we typically start paying out some payments that are one-time payments. One of those are your insurance. So that's the property insurance for town buildings, our vehicles, workers' comp, those types of payments. We also pay out our computer software, which that one we just cut the check for, so that'll show up next month. Those are large payments. They look substantial, they look scary, but they are one time. In this month's report, the annual payment for the insurance came out. Like I said, it is a large payment, but it is one time. Other than that, do you have any questions or concerns?
And budgeted. So,
Yes.
within budget.
Property taxes will be collected here at town for the town taxes. Those have not gone out yet. We had a delay in receiving the tax roll from the county. We have now received it, and our software company is converting it. Those should be mailed out by September 1st.
They sent the past dues and not the currents. And so we had to reach out to them and tell them we need the currents more than we need the past dues.
So it's a work in progress, but we are going to get those.
You're on top of it. Thank you. Anything else?
Do you guys have any questions for me?
You answered it.
All right, Damon.
The way you say that. Good evening, everybody. I've got a couple things for you. I want to tell you, first I'm going to start with some staff updates. Last night, we swore in Alex Benton as our new police officer. That now takes us to a fully staffed police department. It's the first time we've been fully staffed, I would say, in 5 years plus, give or take. right around there. So Alex was, she came up through the cadet program, went through her training at her school, and she swore in last night. Her paperwork finally came in. She's has to go through her FTO and all that, but we're glad to have her. And I just wanted to share that with you. So that's Alex Benton. Kevin Powell is now back at the wastewater treatment plant. I like to say, and you all know this, you know, Kevin came back home. Kevin's been here since he was 18 years old. He left for a little bit, now he's back. Talon Jacobs decided he wanted to try another position. He had a state position that he got, so we wish him well. He did a wonderful job, but Kevin decided when the opportunity arose, he wanted to come back home, and we're glad to have him. He's made an impact already in a short amount of time that he's been back. So I think that it's nice when you can bring somebody in. There's no training needed. He knows the system. So it was like not missing a beat, as he said. It was like coming back home. So glad to have him. Want to tell you that part of the programs that we're doing to address alligator concerns, Wildlife is making us new signs. We have put out the signs that they gave us that were kind of placeholders that tell people do not feed the alligators and tell you the regulations and stuff. But we're getting some signs that are made for the area that are larger that we're going to be putting in as soon as they come in because the state provides them. We also sent eight members of our staff through what's called the jurisdictional alligator handling training program. Okay, so basically alligators are protected species, so it's against the law to even touch it. The only people that have the right to touch them are wildlife. Other than that, you know, it's pretty much against the law. And we understand that when people have emergency situations, they have to take action, and that's understood by wildlife as well. But what we're trying to do is, given the fact that wildlife only has 2 biologists for 9 counties, we're working as force multipliers to help them, so if they can't get here, we can be here. So we went through a 2-day training session where the first day was classroom, second day was hands-on. Some people may have seen us around town. We were catching gators, tagging gators, marking gators, and basically, we didn't have to move any. None of them had to move. We could put them right back in because there weren't any that were deemed to be problematic at that time. But one of the things about this, and I want to be clear, this is not for you got a gator sitting off your dock or a gator sitting in the yard or even the gator sitting on the bank. You call and we come and we remove it. That's not the case. It has to be determined that this gator is behaving in a manner that could be dangerous to the public, or that it is deemed that it is no longer has a fear of humans, or that it's something like, if you call it like a dog, it comes to you. Well, that tells you that somebody's fed. And now it has a response where it's looking at humans as a source of food. Now, let me be clear, that doesn't mean that it's looking at humans to eat humans, but it's looking at it as we are the source of food provided. It's no different if you feed a stray dog in your backyard, he'll be back tomorrow. So, in essence, what I'm going to say, and it's very strongly worded, if you feed it, you're signing the death warrant for that animal. Because once it loses its fear of man, it's going to be coming into your area, and when it behaves in a manner that is not natural, it has to be removed. It can't be relocated, because wherever we would relocate it to, that animal would then, if it ever encounters humans, could behave in that same manner. So that animal has to be euthanized. But now, if an animal comes in and it's just a matter of, we've got a big gator or a gator that's coming in that is in an area that we're concerned with being in there, that it's deemed by wildlife. But first, let me tell you, wildlife is the authority on this. They make the call on everything. We go through them for anything we do. But if they make the call, then there's a relocation done. But I want to be clear on that, because I don't want people to be frustrated when they call and they simply want one removed because it's sitting out on their dock or sitting out at the edge of the dock. Because it's not that, that's not a behavior that's abnormal. What's abnormal, though, is when you go towards it or you get in the water, if it comes to you. That is abnormal, and we do need to know about that. But if you go near it or it takes off and does that, that's completely normal behavior. And what we hope to do is we're gonna be part of this GatorWise program that Wildlife has started to help, keep the public informed and well-informed, because we want them to understand what's acceptable and what's not. We also want them to have, readily available access to, if something's going on at any time, they have contact information where we can be there quickly to benefit wildlife in their process until the wildlife biologists can get here. So we sent eight people through that training, and most of them were law enforcement for understandable reasons, because in some cases when you're having to dispatch an animal, you want to make sure it's people that are proficient in handling weapons and stuff like that. But that's something that we've done, that we've taken on, and we actually have more people in our staff than any other staff in the region that's gone through this training. So we're trying to be proactive in this and trying to really kind of manage this situation in a manner where we can get back to the point of balance. We don't want the public to be afraid of alligators. We don't want to get rid of alligators altogether, because that's a lot of the reason that people come here and part of the identity of this community. But we've got to get back to that balance. So we're also going to do, and some people think it's kind of a harsh term, but it's their term, so I'm going to use it. When you're going out and you're doing these things, they look at it almost like hazing. So it reminds these animals to stay away. We catch them, we mark them, we tag them, we release them. They realize real quick they don't want any part of it. And any of the ones that are around, we saw it firsthand. If there were 5 other ones around, they disappear real quick because they don't want any part of it. And we saw that to carry over even for weeks after, because you would go from seeing 20 alligators, driving down the canal or anything like that. After we did this, for probably the next 2 weeks, you may see 2. We even had people stopping us saying, we're not seeing as many gators, what's going on, and we explained it to them. But I want you guys to know that we're going to be moving forward, working in conjunction with wildlife to make sure we get the word out to the public and the signage up. I do want to mention one other thing. I don't know how this came into play in one of our meetings, but there was a discussion in regards to a fine for feeding the alligators. Somewhere it came from that they were saying $500 fine. We do not have a $500 fine, and we can't implement a $500 fine. Part of the problem is that the state already has determined what the fine is for that violation, and we can't change that. So their fine is less than $500. It's basically $50 plus administrative costs. Now those administrative costs are over $200, but that's still half of what we were wanting to have in place, because we're really trying to stop people from actually doing this. Because it's not worth the loss of that life or putting the public in danger for videos, TikToks, or pictures, or just wanting to get close to an alligator. You can look at them, admire them from afar, and be respectful. Do you guys have any questions about that stuff? And I'll go on. Okay.
Thank y'all for doing that.
Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is the dam project. Okay. So last meeting we had, there was some discussion about the dam. This is a project that, just to give everybody a summary of it real quick, we got the funding, we don't own it. So basically this is a project different than anything that we deal with typically, because our projects are normally in-house. The state appropriated the funds for the project. We had to work in conjunction with state parks. They give us what's called a temporary right of entry, and then we go in, we do the project, and then we turn it back over to them. A lot of different moving parts, a lot of different agencies. That being said, we bid the project originally, we didn't get a single bidder. So we extended it and we didn't re-advertise it. We extended the date, but didn't re-advertise it. Now, that is, when we audited the process, we realized we made a mistake. So what we've done is reached out to all of the only bid we got was actually provided by the name that the state park provided for an engineering firm. So what we did is, after the fact, when we closed it, and we thought, okay, it's closed, we've got it in place for this, we thought Schnabel was going to be the company that was going to be providing the services. But when we audited and saw that we misstepped as far as advertising a second time, we've got to rebid the project. In the process of that, the word has gotten out, and I've had multiple engineering firms that have reached out to us. This actually works in our favor. Like I said earlier, the market dictates. So with one bid, they set the terms. Multiple bidders, the price goes down. So actually by this happening, while it does put us back behind by about 30 days, as far as having to redo the bidding process, hopefully the cost for the project will actually go down. That remains to be seen. Reached out this week to the Secretary of State Parks, Pam Cashwell, and she assured me that, and then Brian Strong, who works for her, who's the Director of Park Service, that we will have the memorandum of agreement in hand. What I was told by the state was, we have the right of entry that gives us the right to proceed, but now we have to have that MOA in hand by the 1st of the month, or the state could, if they chose to do so, because it's written into the bill, pull the funding for that project. And so that will not happen. And here's what I'm going to tell you, and I see the look on your face. We've already been in touch with all of the stakeholders involved that are outside of our control. There's no way on this they can look at anything, excuse me, and say we have done everything we could possibly do. They can grant an extension, but I've already been told we'll have it by the 1st. I will follow up with Brian Strong later in the week. I feel confident about this because he responded to me on the day his daughter had a baby. So I think he got the message. We need it yesterday. So we'll get the MOA. We already have the right of entry. We'll rebid the project. And we've had so many interested parties that have reached out to us. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about bidding it a second time or having to do a second advertisement. I think we'll get enough. And then we'll go through the same process we just did tonight, where we'll award at a later date once that comes in. Are there any questions in regards to that?
No, glad you cleared that up.
Okay, I want to talk about something else. Lastly, it's been like a broken record. We've been talking about these projects that we have ongoing, wells projects, and why we're not getting to our completion date, wastewater treatment plant, and why it was supposed to be done in March and it's still not done. And so tonight, I've asked Chuck, that is a representative from Engineering Services, to please, because you've heard it all from me numerous times, but I think there's been a lot of rhetoric out there that's been talking about the projects not being managed correctly, or that we as a town are dropping the ball, or that we're not doing enough, or we're not doing everything that needs to happen, and therefore these projects are falling down because of that. Chuck is going to speak and give you guys an understanding of where we are in these projects and what the holdup is currently. Chuck?
Come on up, Chuck.
This ain't just a town of
Put you on the spot, Chuck.
How y'all doing?
Now, I have to buy him lunch, but it's not a bribe, okay?
Hey, listen, everything that's going on in Lake Waccamaw as far as lift stations, wastewater treatment plant, wells, it ain't just Lake Waccamaw, it's the whole state. I contract with Engineering Services as the third party to make sure that your money is spent the way it's supposed to be, and they put it in what they bid. That's my job. Well, several towns, small towns, the big towns we don't have no problem, but the small towns, we can call the state all day long, and it's gotten worse now since Josh Stein and stuff happened. Because it's his people that's got to sign off on it. And that's what we're waiting on now is signatures. Just like well number 4, we're just waiting on one signature on the right of way going in there. We get that, we'll be good to go. But we have called, we have done everything we can down on the course pit. And well number 3, we're waiting on a signature for that. Because, well, public water supply, we got to have everything documented, everything. So, and we just, well, it's like beating our head against the wall. Without them signatures, you're going to go to lawsuit, and they're going to take you. Old brother Scott. But we're doing everything we can to get it done. But, like I say, engineering services. As a matter of fact, I contract with about 12 different engineering companies. Every one of them is in the same boat. And now, if you're a large town, like Waccamaw, I mean, it takes a little while, but Waccamaw gets what they need because they're a bigger town. But when you're a small town like Lake Waccamaw or Tabor City, well, I wouldn't say Tabor City, because Tabor City can get what they want. Chadburn and all them other little towns, that's where the problems come. But, I mean, like Ellerby, I got a project going on in Ellerby. We have beat and banged to get the state to sign off on it. This has been going on for a year and a half with them. Another little town in Anson County is the same thing. If you ain't a big town, you might as well hang it in the wind until we can get help that's got it. That's the way I look at it.
Chuck, let me jump in real quick. I just want to clarify. When he's talking about signatures, so we have a 20-foot easement in well site 4.
Right.
That 20-foot easement doesn't allot for the power for the well. So it gives you where you can run the water lines out, but the power source that's needed to operate the whole thing does not fit that 20 feet. So the state property office we've gone round and round for probably the last 5 months, waiting for the state property office to give us approval, and they keep asking for more and more documentation. Now, Duke Energy has been doing their job, trying to get them whatever information they need, check all the boxes. And it's frustrating because, like Chuck said, you feel like you're at the finish line, and then you get, well, there's just this, and then you need this. And so it holds us up. I've been in touch with Eric Moore at the property office multiple times, and I even talked to him 2 weeks ago, and he said it wasn't gonna be, it shouldn't be that much longer. But, and I'm not wagging my finger at the state. We need their help. We wanna have a good relationship with them. But what you have to look at is our projects in their scope and size are not their priorities, because they have to prioritize those projects. I'm not saying they're not prioritizing, I'm saying there are other projects that are prioritized ahead, and therefore, we basically wait in line and have to wait our turn. So when something happens, like with the Well Site 3 project, where we're looking at something that falls outside the original scope because the water was too soft and they're having to modify the plan, that then goes back into the queue and has to wait its turn to get through. So that's not part of the original project. When you're looking at Well Site 4, you're looking at, once it was determined that the power could not be run in the easement that was provided, now you go back to the beginning of the queue to ask for that and for them to work it through their system. The mayor and myself, we've been all the way to Raleigh. As a matter of fact, the last time we went to discuss the dam project, I brought up this project in Well Site 4, and State Park sitting right across from us and looked dead at us and said they have no problem with us proceeding as we want to. But State Park doesn't have the authority. State property has to get it. So it doesn't even matter if you're sitting across the desk from Pam Cashwell. She can say, we have no problem. Speaker Jones can say he has no problem. But Eric Moore at the property office apparently has other things. And it's outside of ours. We're not involved in what hoops go through that process. So I want to be clear on this also. I'm not trying to burn any bridges with Eric Moore, because I don't know what he has to go through to do it, but what I know is this. When we have an agreement, we try to expedite. Still, when we run into these hurdles, it's a matter of you wait until they approve. It's no different than the chief faced when he was trying to get officers and the timetable it takes. I hate to say this, but it's a term that we use, is we're waiting on Raleigh. And, but at the same time, I appreciate Raleigh when they give us the assistance we need, so I'm not biting the hand that feeds us. And I don't want it to be looked at that way. So that's where we are. And Chuck, thank you. I appreciate you coming in and explaining that, because we've had quite a few months where we're getting these updates and they're not going anywhere.
And we're probably gonna have a couple more. Is the way it's looking, but, I mean, everything's being done to be done.
We appreciate you.
Well, Mr. Terry, comes by on some of the jobs we do. He drops in, Matt, you come by too, bud. Just want to sit down in that air release manhole one day, Brad.
I wish that one would have.
Thanks,
So
Chuck.
we appreciate you.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have this evening, unless you all have some
Sure.
questions. Sir?
Are you sure?
I could keep.
Appreciate it. We needed that, and I thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. All right. Commissioners, y'all got anything?
I'm good.
Gary?
I think we've probably covered most of everything. You wanna talk about?
You can. I mean, for a later date. Ron, you got anything out there? You sure? Corey?
Hey, Ron, can you give us an update on the fire hydrants?
So, we're looking, we got 13 in the town we need to replace. Me and Greg are currently working through Public Works. We've got a number of them, we got where they are, and we're working on quotes and things to get them back in. It's on top of our list, I promise, but it's not an overnight thing.
How many fire hydrants are in town?
We have about 140,
How many are not working?
13. And they're spread out, they're not like along.
How many on Waccamaw shores aren't working?
Yeah, and
We're also prioritizing which ones, is, because there's a certain distance they're apart.
Right.
So what we want to make sure is if any of them in those 13 are close together, which make more of a void, we want to focus on those to make sure that we have it balanced, but all 13 are being addressed.
Yeah, and in the meantime too, there is no drop in your insurance rate. If your hydrant is not working in front of your house, we're either putting a water point there or we're covering from another hydrant. So your insurance will not drop, and we're aware of it if we respond to a call. That's not something we're.
And in order to replace and repair a hydrant, you've got to cut the water off to everybody's.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that would be more of a great question, but yes, to my understanding, it would happen.
Well, and we currently, we're getting inventory in because these things are about $4,000 a piece. And, correct on that, right? Yeah, $4,000 a piece. And so we're getting them in, but then we also are prioritizing in what order we want to put them in. And then we're gonna have to notify the public and give them advance notice, because we had the one time on a Saturday morning that it wasn't
Thanksgiving.
supposed to. Say again?
It was Thanksgiving, I think. No, maybe not. Saturday.
It was close
It was a
enough.
holiday.
And yeah, it was definitely close enough to it. So we were told that our water would not be disrupted, that this was an easy fix. And what you realize is when you get in the ground, you don't know what you got until you got it. And so then once they got in there, they had to turn it off. So we won't be doing that anymore. There won't be Saturday and, Saturday. As a matter of fact, we will make sure they're scheduled out. We've learned our lesson on that. We want to make sure that people have prior notice, because the last thing we want, we're not going to hit people early in the morning while they're getting ready for work. We don't want to hit them on holidays or close to holidays, weekends, or anything like that. And we'll coordinate and we'll get them in the ground. Because, it also benefits the fire department. It's a partnership between water and sewer and the fire department. We talked about it earlier this week. It's the water and sewer department that puts it in the ground, but it's the fire department that needs it, so they need to be on the same page and communicating to make sure it gets done in a timely manner and effectively, and the most impact from the moment we start till the time we finish.
Thank you, Steve.
Corey, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Any update on Jeff? Okay. For all of you that we were talking about, Jeff Marlowe, our officer, his daughter was in a severe accident and is clinging to life, but she's not doing it. She's been beat up pretty bad. Keep her in your prayers.
All right. If nothing further, we are going to go into closed session to talk about some things. Closed session pursuant in North Carolina Government Statute 143-318 to consult with our attorney. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? All right, thank y'all for being here.
Diane, I hadn't seen you.